The Lexus RX is by far our best seller. And every year there's new features and new buttons and things to set up, and the vehicles always get more and more complicated. So with that in mind, today's video, we're gonna be going over all of our how-tos on the new Lexus RX. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe for more Lexus related content. Okay, so you've saved up your money and you've finally picked up your brand new RX 350. And now you think, how can I get the most out of this? Well, in today's video, I'm gonna be going over all of the features and settings to get the most out of your brand new Lexus RX. So make sure you stick around to the end because I do have a lot of details here. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe for more Lexus related content. So most of what I'm gonna go over today is gonna be either safety, style, or function related. A lot of that's gonna be from inside here. This is the 2025 RX 350h executive package, and you can always tell it's executive because of the Mark Levinson sound system, the ultra suede on the seats, and this is the macadamia interior, which by the way, this white on macadamia is one of my favorite color combos for 2025. Okay, so whenever I set up a brand new Lexus, I always start from the left and go into the middle because most of what we're gonna do is on the main screen. So for today's video, I'm just gonna press start twice, actually just once because it's a hybrid. And the car now is on, essentially. And over to the left of the steering wheel, we have like our seat settings. It says seat settings, but it's like your driver settings. So what you wanna do is make sure you set both your side mirrors by using the buttons on the side door bezel. And then just hold set with one of your fingers and press number 1, number 2, number 3. A little expert tip is sometimes I set number 3 to myself as well, but in a different position. So maybe if number 1 is like a more upright stance for me, I might set number 3 to like a more relaxed, I say stance, but I mean seating, where maybe I'm a little bit more leaned back or something like that. And then of course, adjusting the mirrors as such as well. So that's the first thing I always do. Another thing, make sure you set your mirrors to auto. And the reason for that is it's kind of safety. I guess it is kind of style as well. And that is so that when you lock the car, those mirrors fold in. So in my driveway, if I ever think, oh, did I lock my car? I just peek out, those mirrors are in. That means I know I locked it. I mean, the Lexus app will tell you if you didn't lock it anyway. So that's where that is. You wanna make sure that's an auto. Also make sure you play around with in reverse. So when you're in reverse and you set those mirror settings, that's also gonna be where they tilt down to when you're in reverse. So that's a function I always like to turn on is when I put it in reverse, I adjust those mirrors to just go down just a tad so I can see the lines and just be like perfect the way that I park. Okay, so to get a better look at the screen, which we're gonna do a lot more, I'm gonna use the gimbal for that. So let's get into some styling features that I wanna talk about. And I'll give you a little hint. You can see it down there and you can see it up there, and that's right, it's the illumination. So what we're gonna do is click on the little car piece right there to the side. Oh, actually, sorry, it's the gear piece for this one. And we're gonna scroll down to Vehicle Customize, and then you can click on Illumination. And to put in perspective, only the higher package has this, but you can have some fun with it. So we see at the top here, we can see theme, we can see all zones, by zone, and then it shows the actual theme off to the right there. So these are the preset themes that you have. So you have, everything from daylight white all the way down, like lightning is another one. Some fun colors, waterfall, heat blue, afterglow, and then there's a custom one. So I clicked on lightning. It takes a few seconds, but it does seem to illuminate everything. So on the dash, the door panels, over by your feet, all that will change. It has like themes to it. It reminds me, I had one of those like ceiling fans that had preset things like this as the LED lights. I always thought that was fun. And then custom. So when you do custom, you can click on the color. And now we have all the colors and you can kind of just like move it around. And it's not instant, but it's pretty close to instant. So it's kind of cool to do this at nighttime, not in a bright showroom like I'm in right now, and being able to pick a color that suits your vibe. Or I saw a commercial of, this really hip artist, and the artist would actually change the color to fit their outfit, which I thought was super cool. So feel free to have fun with that with your friends. Then we could do brightness. So we could do, I would crank it, because even from Lexus, this is like an indirect light. So a little bit different from Mercedes and BMW, where this light is not to shine directly in your eyes. It's supposed to just like sort of being your peripherals. And we can even change the zones. If you really wanted the back to be cranked and the foot to be cranked, and then just keep the front normal, you can do that as well. So a little bit of customization there. I like the dust and blue look, so we're gonna stay with that for now. Another thing we're gonna do while we're in this screen is door control. So this is a safety feature. So we can change things like auto unlock, 2-button press, smart access doors. I wanna make sure when it says unlock that it's driver door only. And I know that can be a little inconvenient for you, especially if you have a family, but it is a safety thing. Maybe not where you live, but maybe somewhere you travel to. And what that does is the reason we want it driver door only is because most of the time we're just gonna walk up to that door handle with our key in our pocket, hit the handle, and it'll unlock the doors. There is crime around these countries, and you don't wanna unlock all the doors because what if someone comes running up and now they can get in the car with you? It's way safer to have it where it just opens your car. And if you have family with you, you get in and you press unlock and now they can get in. I'm just telling you from feedback I've had from people to keep that on. Now in this same screen, we can change things like the buzzer volume for the power back door, the opening position. So you can go and program the back door height by just opening it up and then holding the button when it gets to a certain height, or we can use these numbers here. And the manual mode is the mode I just mentioned. But we could choose 4, we could choose 5. We can do all these different modes and set the height. So if you're a little bit shorter and you want it to be easier to reach, you could always set it to like a 3 or a 4. And all of that is totally customizable here. Another thing I want to talk about is meters. So the meter on the new RX is a little different because there's just 3 types. So the 3 types you can go through on here or you can go through on the MSD screen itself, but you could always change how your tach shows. So you could have it like HV meter, which is like what it normally is or when you're in eco, tachometer, like when you're in sport mode, you can change all that there. And heads up display you can adjust here too. So heads up display, you can choose to like move it up and down and left and right. And then you can also change it to like full, which I like. And you could also like tilt it a little bit. So over time, if you think that it's like not perfectly lined up, you can customize all that in that screen there. So that's a little bit of what we're gonna talk about for that. I don't think there's anything else. I mean, the boarding and exit, that's a feature you definitely want on. It's essentially the easy out exit. So when you shut off the car and the seat and the steering wheel move away from each other, that's all customizable. Here, I would just leave that. The custom drive mode, I would probably leave that as well. The steering switch, so this is cool. So this is for, on this particular model, it has the smart touch steering wheel. So I know some people love it, some people don't. I really like it. I just gotta take the time to get it all set up. And what it is when you're hovering over those buttons, it'll show you on the screen what the button is that you're hovering over. You can see that it's not actually on the steering wheel, and that's so that we can have 8 buttons instead of 4. And you can change what those 8 buttons are by changing the layout here. So you could do custom, we can decide like which buttons to put there. So we could put like, brightness or display switching, or even, you could even put sport mode on there. I like to kind of just leave it the way it comes. I think Lexus did a good job of making it the display control, but I did want to point out that you can change that. And really important for right now is winter gloves mode. So if you find that the steering wheel controls aren't as like sensitive to your touch, winter glove mode makes them super sensitive. It's just easier. So some people even just leave that on all the time. And I'll just show you guys one more time, right here on both the left and right side. Now, while I'm here, I'm gonna talk to you about the screen itself. So this is the new feature for the RX for 2025, and that is that we have the updated little dashboard here. So this is like what we saw in the TX. Instead of being able to like customize the whole thing, you just sort of like go between 3 preset. They all sort of have a different layout and some different features. Some of them say the same thing, but it is really sharp and you can move that all around with this screen right here. And that's also on the heads-up display, by the way. Now that we have heads-up display on full, you can see anything, almost anything you see down here up there in terms of like information and stuff like that. Okay, so back to the screen, let's talk about the safety features. So in here, there's the little 6 dots. We're just gonna press that. You'll see like the quick screen. So this is like, if you really want to put it in sport mode, you could put it in eco mode, turn on and off some parking features here. Over to the right is your comfort and convenience. So max heat, max cool, those are great shortcuts. If we move over, we get into the different layers of this menu. So now we can put it back to normal drive mode, for instance. What I want to get out of the screen is making sure everything is turned on. I'm a big fan of the new Lexus safety sense. And I think everybody should just have it on for now, try it, and then maybe shut things off after you get used to it, especially the proactive driving assist. Now, this is gonna be the one that feels the weirdest to you if you're coming from an older car, because this is that bubble around the car that will slow down if, you know, the car in front of you slows down. If someone opens their door, the car can dodge it. I've become so reliant on it sometimes that, like, when I see the car in front of me slowing down, I'll let the car slow down. Like, it's like I'll let my car slow down instead of me pressing the brake. I know it's a bad habit, but it is just a cool feature. So make sure you turn all that on. I have a lot of chats about like the road sign assist and how cool that is. Again, I would just leave all that on for right now. Speaking of some technology here, we have the digital mirror. So you can see me there. Or we can just turn it on, and now we have the camera on, and behind us is a ceiling, so you can't see it. But what I wanted to show you here is with the digital mirror, when you go to set up your homelink, so that's your garage door opener, with this system, it walks you through it. So you can actually just like go through all the steps to program that, and it's not that hard. Where if you have the normal mirror that looks like this, it won't have that on there. It'll just be a mirror. So that is one thing to point out. Okay, now some secret little features. If I press vehicle on the left here, you can see some info, you can see some driving assist and stuff, but let's go to rear seats. And now we can actually click on the seat. So let's see if I wanted to like click on the left one, or we could hit all. And when you press this button, the seat behind us will actually fold down. Pretty cool, eh? And if you wanted to raise it, you can just hit raise it, and it'll do that automatically for you. So it's not really a setting, it's more of just like an advanced feature, but it is pretty cool. Okay, so by this point in the video, you might be sick of hearing that little beep sound every time I press something. And there is a way to turn it off. So if you wanted to, what you do is just hit general, go over to accessibility, and now we can just turn screen beep on and off. So now it's off. When I touch things, it won't do anything. I'm gonna leave it on for the showroom here, because everybody does like it, but that is something you can turn on and off. Also in here, we have some more advanced features. I mean, the vehicle customize was where we started, but everything from display and the brightness and the contrast to a Wi-Fi hotspot, which is a little bit more of an advanced feature. Depending on your subscription, you can turn that on. Notifications like for software updates, all of that is kind of through here. Voice and search. You can change your wake word and your voice prompt for stuff like that. You can change your dealer info, your name of your car, check for software updates, and of course apps. And probably by now, by the time you get your car home for the first time, you probably have your phone connected, but just in case, you're just gonna go settings, Bluetooth and devices. And if maybe CarPlay is not working and you wanted CarPlay, just make sure you have CarPlay clicked off in this menu. Because sometimes you might just be paired through Bluetooth when really you wanna pair it through CarPlay. Another thing, at the bottom, this saved me today. You'll see the little climate switch. That is super handy because when you click it, you can see things like de-icer, S-flow, and S-flow is great for like making sure all the airflow just goes to like where people are sitting. And de-icer is exactly what it sounds like. A cold day like today, that's a super great feature to have as well. And don't forget that you have your other defroster right here too. Climate control is something that I go crazy about because anytime I get in my brother's car, he has auto climate control and he always just has it cranked. And then it gets too hot and he shuts it off, and then it gets too cold and he turns it back on. I'm a fan of just setting it to the right temperature. So make sure you hit auto. I put it to like 21, 21.5. It'll get the car to that temperature as quickly as possible. So you don't have to like overcompensate or anything like that. And then don't forget, these are buttons over here too. So we can hit the recirc if we wanted to manually override that. We could hit AC if we wanted to manually override that. And of course, you'll see the right is on high. You can hit sync and it'll sync to that left one. And then this people forget is a button, and I always forget it is too, is you could hit rear. And then if you wanted to, you could adjust the climate. Like if we didn't have it on sync, you could adjust the climate in the rear as well, which has to be initiated from the back. But that is something you can do. Okay, so the final thing is the child lock. So you do still have the classic child lock right here. So when it's down, it means that your child cannot get out of that back seat without someone opening it from the outside. So you do have to do it from the outside if that's on. I had a couple of used cars get traded in, that feature was on, and someone couldn't get out of the back seat. but it is really handy, especially for these new doors. So there you have it, just a few settings and features to check out when you bring home your new Lexus RX the first day you get it. I know there's so many more things I could go over, and I already talked about more than I planned to because there is so many features and advanced features in these cars, and that's why I always recommend to salespeople is tell your guests that they're not gonna learn everything on the first delivery day, but to come back for a second delivery, for a third delivery, go over some of the more advanced stuff because there really is so many buttons and features now and ways you can like adjust the car and customize it that most people don't get a chance to actually do. So that was my take on it. I hope you liked this video. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to do this on some other models, and I'll see you in the next video. Hi, I'm Dustin Mason, and this is my 5 favorite features from the new RX 350. My first favorite feature is the adaptive cruise control. The reason I love it so much is it's come so far in the last number of years, just like cell phones, computers, and AI, and all the other technology that we have, and the car can do a lot of thinking. So usually when I'm driving, I just put on that adaptive cruise control. It keeps me a really safe distance between the car in front of me, as well as really centered on the lane. It doesn't matter if there's a curve in the road, if there's, other obstacles and stuff around, the car can do the thinking. How it does that is this sensor here, which by the way, is heated so that in Canada, when we have snow and ice buildup, this will actually stay as clear as possible for as long as possible. It's not perfect, but it does the trick. And we have a sensor there as well at the top of the windshield. So when the windshield wiper goes, it'll keep that little camera or radar sensor or IR, whatever it is, clear so that the adaptive cruise control will always work perfectly. Now, the next feature, however, is a lot more luxurious and convenient. And what that is the door handles themselves. So this is the new Lexus e-latch, electronic door latch system. So when you go to open it, you can just kind of squeeze the inside there. There's like a little pressure pad, and you'll actually feel it move, so it works great in the winter and in the summer. It doesn't matter what the season's like, you'll feel that move. And don't worry, if the car has a dead battery, there still is a way to get into that just underneath. You can just kind of pull that lever a couple of times. That'll open up. You do have to apply a lot of pressure. But it's actually the inside, when you go to leave the car, that e-latch system really dominates a regular door handle. And what I mean by that is usually on a normal door handle, you have to sort of pull the top and then use like your elbow to open it up. Where with this one, you're just gonna apply pressure with your thumb and in one smooth motion, exit the car. I didn't know that you could exit a car and feel so satisfied and happy while doing so. It doesn't feel like a chore. I know that sounds silly, but I mean it. Above that is, which brings me to my next favorite feature, which is this ultra suede. It's kind of like an Alcantara. I would say maybe the fibers are just a little bit longer than an Alcantara, but it is really well trimmed in any of the F Sport or F Performance RXs on the seats and a little bit of that armrest, and it feels a little bit extra luxurious. My next favorite feature is in the trunk of the RX. Now, depending on your lifestyle, you might need to put some big objects into the back and fold down those seats. There's 2 little buttons here right off to the side. And for me, I might need a coat rack because I wear so many suits and I need somewhere to hang them. So when I travel with my trusty coat rack, I can just put that down because my seats are folded, shut that hatch, and move on with my day. My final favorite feature is all about hydration. And what I mean by that is the cup holders in the RX are adjustable. So if you have a large cup, or in this case, an energy drink, you can push it down so that's a little more stable. It's like more into the console. But let's say you wanted like a tall Starbucks instead of a venti, you could actually raise that up by pressing the push button on the inside. And that way it's kind of adjustable for whatever size hydration you want to put into your body. So there's my 5 favorite features from the RX 350 lineup. I know I probably have 100 more favorite features, so let me know in the comments below what yours are, or if there's any that I should talk about in the next video. Today, I'm gonna go over every button on the RX 350 with my trusty gimbal and smartphone. This is something I did on the NX 350 and it was a big hit, so I figured why not do it on our bread and butter, which is the RX. But before I get into that, I have a contest for you. I'm gonna do a giveaway for some Lexus swag for a few people, maybe we'll do 3, who can find me on Instagram and comment on one of my photos, RX 350. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe for more Lexus related content. Okay, so as you can see, today I have a beautiful copper crest RX 350 in the showroom. And this one is the luxury package. So it's not gonna have every bell and whistle and button, but for the most part, it'll be able to give us an idea. First things first is let's look at the front end. So usually you don't get to get so up close to it, but with the magic of this gimbal, you can see very closely things like the grille, those parking sensors that are on said grille, the Lexus emblem, which is super important, especially you can even see when we're up close, the little heated lines on the Lexus emblem. And that's to keep the snow and ice off for that sensor that's embedded into the Lexus emblem. The headlights themselves on this package are the single LED headlight. I do want to do a comparison video of the triple beam LED headlight one of these days, maybe at nighttime, to compare the two. But in terms of exterior, those are sort of the main differences between some of those higher models. And then we have that daytime running light sort of strewn across. From there, we have some venting here on the side of the bumper as well. For the most part, it's just for looks. There isn't any washer for the headlights on this RX, but we do have those nice 21-inch wheels. And I think Lexus did a really good job of these wheels. Ooh, that looks really good, just the way I'm sort of showing it right now. It gives you a really good indication of the two-tone that it has, which sometimes can be kind of hard to see on the internet, is the two-tone. The S-Sport package has a bigger brake kit behind that wheel. This was just a smaller brake kit. So I think it's really important for people when they're looking at aftermarket tire and rims that the sport models, it's definitely a different setup down there. So coming right down the center, we're gonna find the little lever. So it's kind of lined up right with that Lexus emblem, I would say. And we're gonna lift up. And what you'll see, that's the lever right there. So really, really easy to find and open up. Here is the engine. So on the RX 350, it is a similar, or pretty much the same, engine and powertrain to the NX 350. And we can see that it is the turbocharged 4-cylinder. We have that little Lexus emblem here. It's not as covered over as things like the LS or LX. I find we have a little bit of cooling here at the top. I'm pretty sure that that's not just for looks. And then everything else is pretty much open. So you can see some of our canisters, things like the windshield wiper, the coolant, etc. There is a relay and fuse box over to the left. And then also over to the right, we have our battery. Now in the showroom, we do put little trickle chargers on our battery because we find they die a lot because we're constantly opening and closing the doors, running the radio. So at nighttime, we always close it in. I'm pretty sure this little box here is to help generate sound for that intake. I'm not a scientist, but I'm pretty sure that's what it does. Oh, and then up here, we just have some material, some sound deadening, et cetera, et cetera. But that is what it looks like underneath the hood of your RX 350. Oh, and you can see some heat shielding here because the turbo is back there. So turbos generate heat, people, and that's why we need extra cooling for said heat. As we approach the RX 350, we want to talk about the handle. As you just press on the dimple, that's what I call it, you'll hear that beep, and you'll even see it on the mirror like that. And if we had it set up where the mirrors would fold in, those mirrors would fold in when we lock it. That's always a good idea because then when you're looking at your driveway, you can tell if your car's unlocked from far away, if the mirrors are in or not. And then to unlock it, we just put our hand inside and you can already hear that beep. To actually open the door, there's like a little pad in there that we're just gonna apply pressure to. And the door will sort of kind of come out a little bit at the same time. So that's that electronic door latch. And you can kind of hear it when I go like this. So you can hear it. It doesn't take much pressure. It's just a little bit. If we needed to get in here and the car was dead, because obviously that's an electronic door handle, there is a method to do that. So we would just pop off this little flap here, and it is tricky because it kind of comes off the opposite way you would expect it to. A lot of people will try and pry it that way. You sort of just pop it up and the clip will unclip halfway, and then you grab it and you sort of just pull it towards you and out instead of to the back of the vehicle. Once you do that, then you get the key in there, you can unlock it, but then you use this little handle here. It's like the bottom trim of the handle. It's actually a lever, and it takes a lot of pressure to actually use, and it only activates on 2 reasons. One would be if the car died, so if there's no power going to the doors, and 2 would be if we used that key in there to unlock it, then it would know that we're trying to do that. So it is a little bit tricky. So let's look inside. But before I get too in-depth inside, I see something that is too tempting to not do anything about, and that is this piece of plastic. I know this is a dealership car, but I just wanna... Amazing. There's something about that. It's like when you get a fresh TV or a new TV and you could pull off that screen protector. That's exactly what I feel like. Okay, so taking a look at the inside of the door, there's a few things to go over. So one of them is the electronic door handle from the inside, which is really important because this is actually my favorite part of the electronic door latch system, is this door handle right here. So to use it, you simply just rest your hand on the rest of the handle and just apply pressure to that door handle. You can actually hear it, you can hear it click. Now, a lot of times people will just press it and not apply any like pressure from their arm to open up the door. You have to do that because if not, it kind of gets in this weird mode where like the door's not shut and the door's not open and you can't push it open, you gotta pull it closed and it does this weird thing. Or if there is a dead battery, how you access it is you pull it this way. You sort of just get in there and use your thumb. And I see a lot of the times people just do that anyway because they think that's how the door handle opens. And there is a little sticker at the top of it. It shows you what to do. So that's the number 2 times to activate that manual door handle. On the rest of the door, we have some buttons over here. So we have the lockout switch for all the passenger windows. Then we have the power window switches. So it is a 5-way switch. So 1 down, 2nd down. So that's that like auto down feature. You can just like hit it all the way down and the door will go down. And we have 1 up and all the way up. And we have that for the front and back, and the back windows roll down all the way too. Then we have the lock and unlock. It's kind of funny because you're not gonna hear that click door actuator because there's actually no door actuator happening here or lock actuator. Instead, it's just allowing power to go to this or not. And then we have left and right for your window switch. And then you can fold in your mirrors with that button there to the top left, or fold them out, or put them in auto mode. And I recommend auto mode because then when you lock your car, they'll fold in and you know it's locked. And the whole neighborhood knows it's locked. And maybe the guy trying to break in and steal your purse knows it's locked. I don't know. Okay, so now that we are in the RX 350, let's do some of the buttons in here. So starting on the left, we have the gas door switch, and that's over to the left, right beside the trunk switch. So trunk switch, gas door switch. And the gas door is also on the left, so it's easy to remember because the switch is on the left. Underneath that, we have a secret passageway. In this secret passageway, we have a spot for, I don't know, coins and maybe your parking pass, things like that. Not a lot of cars have that anymore, so I think that's cool. And above those, we have our memory seat switches. So usually in Lexus has always had them on the door panel, but now the door panel is very clean and there's not a whole lot going on there. And we have them here on the dashboard. The nice thing about that is it's a little bit more in your driver's sight. Not that you're usually driving when you press those buttons. I don't know if they even work when you're driving, but they are like a little bit easier to spot because even when you're just sitting here, you'll be able to see them off to the side there. And to use them, you just press 1, 2, or 3, and that'll move the steering wheel, it'll move the mirrors, it'll move the seat to where you've programmed it. And how you program it is I usually just hold one button on the set and then the second finger on 1, 2, or 3. And the fact that there's 3, usually you don't have 3 drivers. I mean, maybe some of you do. I usually have like Dustin comfort mode, Dustin race mode, and then like, you know, the third person type thing. So above that, we have odometer and trip. So again, Lexus has sort of placed those buttons in a little bit more a line of sight. In previous generations, you'd have to like look around and like it'd be like behind the steering wheel, where now it's a little bit more just in front of you. So when you hit odometer, it goes to odometer or trip 2. And then to the right of that, we have up and down for dimmer. So this will dim not only the gauge cluster and some of the other lit up illuminated lights, it also will do the ambient lighting. So that helps too, which is really nice. Okay, onto the steering wheel. So this is the luxury package, meaning we don't have a heads-up display. And because we don't have a heads-up display, we have just some classic old-fashioned buttons here on the steering wheel. And some people in the comments don't love the new heads-up display with the electronic sort of like soft touch buttons. And if that's you, then this is probably the package that you would like. So onto the left, we have up, down, left, and right. That's gonna scroll through our screen that shows up on the left here. So right now, it's actually telling me I have fuel low. If I go to the right, it'll now say things like gear position. And I can go down, down again, my total fuel economy, which this car has obviously not driven yet, so it's kind of outrageous. We have average speed, elapsed time, distance to empty, average fuel economy again, eco indicator. So there's a little animation that you can see sort of like how your driving habits is right now. Then we have a turbo. So this shows things like oil temperature, as well as the actual PSI that the turbo is spooling at right now. And there's a little animation that's kind of cool. I wish my turbo car had that, but they didn't have that back then. And then a G-force meter. So even though this is not a sport package, we still have a G-force meter. And you might ask what that does in a car like this. Not a whole lot, but it is kind of cool to see the little dot moving to the side and up and down when you're driving. Fun fact is, on some of these cars, it'll save it. And you could tell if the last person that drove your car was really pushing it, because the plot will be all sort of all over the place. Then we can go to the right and see our compass, and this is where it would be displayed if we had our navigation on. It could also show up there. And then music, and then our adaptive cruise control, and then if the car needs to tell us anything, which in this case, it's telling us that our fuel is low. And I did all of that by just going left and right and up and down. Sometimes you'll have to hit OK, and that's why there's an OK button there. It's pretty rare. And then whenever it was pulling up a screen that I didn't want to see, I would just hit that little back button right there. Underneath that back button, we have our phone button. So it's not the answer and hang up phone button like we've seen in older Lexuses. It's just a phone button. And when you press that on our big screen over here, we would see our phone screen. So things like our messages, recent phone calls, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty self-explanatory. Then we have volume up and down. So really easy to use. It's in a perfect spot for it, in my opinion. I like to use the volume knob in the center, but once in a while, I do find myself using this. And then we have the little face button. And the face button will activate our voice commands. So things like call home, call work, call Dustin, et cetera, et cetera. There's one more button that I forgot to talk about in the last one, and that is the horn. That's right in the center. Sounds exactly like you just heard. Nothing crazy there. This top left button here is our cruise control. So usually when I'm driving, I'll just hit that when I'm going the desired speed. It'll lock in the speed. It'll already have adaptive cruise control on. And then I can just sort of let the car do its thing. Then we have the lane centering and lane departure alert button right underneath that. It'll change. See that little button that keeps coming on and off, that little light? So we want it to look like that. We want it to look like the car is in between two lanes. And the Lexus system does a great job of doing this. It really takes a lot of that thinking out of trying to keep you center and straight. Then we have our cruise control buttons. So up and down or resume is just right here. Again, they're physical buttons, super easy to use. We have our cancel for that cruise control. And then we have our cruise control mode. And that's where we can go from adaptive cruise control to just regular cruise control. And I know I have some people in the comments that like their regular cruise control. I don't know why, because I think the car does a great job of keeping that safe distance from the car in front of you. And it is really nice. Then for the radar cruise control, we have this distance button here. You can see the distance changing. So that's like 4 bars, 3 bars, 2 bars, 1 bar. Those aren't car lengths. I told someone that they were car lengths one time, and I was very much wrong. There's these left and right buttons, which are for music. So that's how you're gonna go next preset, next track, next Spotify, next podcast, whatever you listen to, that's gonna be on those ones. The last ones on the steering wheel is the shifters, the paddle shifters. They're on either side. We have shift up on the right and shift down on the left. They're made of plastic. On the LC, they're like a magnesium. I've seen some aluminum in other cars. On the RX, they are plastic, but not a big deal. No one will really notice. And actually, while we're up close to the steering wheel, even just the fit and finish is nice. It's got like this wood grain that's like open pore wood. It's like a black wood grain because it's a black interior, and overall it looks really good. So that is the steering wheel controls. Then we have, on the side of the steering wheels, we have these other two little arms, sometimes that we forget about, including myself. So the left one, we have our auto high beam on and off. So if we had the headlights on right now, and you can see to the right, that light that's turning on and off, I think it's like the squid launcher, the octopus launcher, whatever people say on the internet. When it's got the A, that means it's auto. So we're gonna leave that on for right now. And what I did was I just turned the headlights on to demonstrate that. Usually you're gonna leave it in auto. So do me a favor, just leave your headlights in auto. There's no reason not to anymore. And then we have our daytime running lights, and then the other squid or octopus, which is headlights on. So we're just gonna leave that in auto. If we wanted to do a high beam, we would put it away from us. If we wanted to flash a high beam, we'd pull it towards us, just like that, just a quick flash. Again, we're gonna use auto high beam most of the time. Then we have our fogs, which is right here. Ooh, actually, I just realized there's another light right there. So that's also for the auto high beam. I usually leave the fogs on, and then whenever the headlights are on, the fogs are on. So over to the right side, we have our wipers. So this wiper here is the rear one. So the outer collar is for your rear wiper. You can see it kind of going back and forth up there. So that's rear wiper. I do use that, especially in the snow time. It is not automatic. Then we have this other little collar here, or whatever you want to call it. And this is a way to sort of fine tune your wipers. So it's either doing the intermittent or it's adjusting the sensitivity of the rain sensing. And I would recommend just leaving it in rain sensing. And how to do that, when you're just normally here, if you go up, it'll just swipe one time. If you go down one from the rest, that's auto. And you can see it on the diagram there. So one down from the resting spot is auto. And then whenever water hits it, it'll activate. Then we have one more down from there, which is just your regular wipers. It's just kind of going in a regular way. And if we go twice, it'll be as fast as possible, which I don't know, I feel like I've seen it go faster than that. And then if you pulled it towards you, it'll shoot water at the windshield. And if you push it away from you, it'll shoot water at the rear wiper, which I'm not gonna do right now because it'll make a mess of the showroom. A lot of people forget that if you push it away from you, it does the rear wiper. And on some Lexus cars, it even does the rear camera when you push it away from you. So that's a little life hack. That's a little dusty tip for you guys. Okay, so now that we're sitting here, let's continue on to the right, and what better spot than the center console. So in the center console, we have a few more buttons here. We have traction control off. A lot of times people say, well, what situation would you turn your traction control off? You would have to be stuck in a snowbank or something and really need all that power to go to the wheels. I've never been in that situation in an RX. That's a lie. I have been in a situation like that in an RX. And I turned traction control off to get all my power to the wheels. I think when I did it, it was like desperate times, desperate measures. I hope you don't have to use that. Then we have our terrain select. Ooh, I'm gonna turn back on the car for this. So this is just, again, one more assist. It kind of makes it in, I don't know, off-road terrain mode, kind of. And you can see the little green light that's flashing right now. So that's me pressing that button on and off. Then we have our parking brake. So it is an auto parking brake, and you can hear it. And you press it down and pull it up with your foot on the brake, and it'll tell you what it's doing. Then we have downhill assist mode. So I live in Ontario. We don't have a lot of big hills, but if you do, this could be a good mode to save your brakes, etc. And then we have the auto off button, double off, 2 offs. So that's that feature that a lot of new cars have, that when you're at a stoplight, even though it's not a hybrid, and you hear that gas engine kick off, you can override that and have it so it doesn't do that. I got really used to that over the last couple of years. I barely notice when the car does it anymore. However, there has been a couple times early on that it really tripped me out and I didn't love it. So you can override that every time you get in the car, but it doesn't save it. You have to do that every time. Then we have the shifter. So to put it in park, and this is really important. I hope everybody's listening to this part because we get a lot of confusion with the shifter. Press park to get into park. So you just press that P. To put it into reverse, for instance, you're gonna grab that shifter, go over to the left and up, just like that. And then it snaps back. Then drive is over to the left and down, and then it snaps back. It's not gonna let us do drive right now. Then if we want it to be manual mode, we would just hit down on it. So not it going over at all. So pretty easy. It is really quick to do, I would say. That is one of the coolest things about it, is it makes it super quick. Obviously that is a huge benefit, because when you're going to park really quick, put it in gear, park, without having to like, do a whole lot of work, which is great. Little hidden button is this push right here. So that's a big difference between the NX and the RX, is this one. So if I push down, if you had a venti Frappuccino and you need more stability because the whipped cream is so high on your Frappuccino, you can push that down further in the RX with that front, only the front cup holder. And then if you need to return it back to a tall size or a small Timmy's, you can press that and that bottom comes up. That's been a classic RX feature since 2016. Then we can open up this little cubby in here. And even in this package, we have the wireless charger, so you can just place your phone in there. I would show you that, but I'm using my phone right now to record. The thing with the RX is it really puts your phone out of sight, out of mind, and you can focus on driving because you can shut that door again and not have to worry about your phone. But don't forget it in there. I've been in a boardroom and realized, I checked my whole body, realized that my phone is still in my car in the parking lot. And of course, being a millennial, I couldn't go a whole meeting without looking at my phone, so I ran down to my car and looked very silly, sprinting through the parking lot to try and get my phone before the meeting started. We have a USB-C and a USB-A, and then that classic sort of 12-volt cigarette lighter style plug. And those are all tucked away. So if you want to plug in a device to charge and you don't want to see the wires, use those ones there, because then we can shut it and there's a big cubby there for all that stuff. And we still have a few USB-Cs which have a really quick charge to them. And those are both right there. And then we have just a little cubby in there. In terms of the vents, we have these little dials here, and actually technically, I guess that means I missed a button over here. Right here, we have a dial for the venting. So you can shut it or have it opened. It's easy to tell because whatever you see, whatever line you see is the setting that it's on. So this is fully open, this is fully closed. And that just does just that vent, and then same thing over here, but it's just up and down. So one of them is all the way open, and then this one is all the way closed. I've wondered in the past why we don't have a more technological way to do that, but I think it's not broke, don't fix it. Most people just leave them open all the time anyway. And then we just have our vents here. You'll notice the RX being a little bit wider. A few things are spread out a little bit more. It's not a flat little handle. It's kind of got a little bow to it because it kind of bows outward, which makes it easier to use, I guess. And the button that no Lexus owner ever uses because our cars are so reliable is the hazard button. So it is important to know that. I know a lot of people are gonna say Lexuses do break down sometimes. Yes, and also sometimes we just gotta tell someone that there's a hazard on the road. And you don't wanna panic and not know where your hazard button is. So if you're looking at the dashboard and your screen, it's right there. It's right in the center and it flashes once it's on. Then we have our volume knob as well as our climate controls. So I'm just gonna turn on our screen and kill some battery real quick. So volume, you can press and hold it to reset the system. When Apple CarPlay and Android Auto first came out, I was doing that once in a while. And then just press it once to like mute. It is rubber. There's no clicking or anything to it. It sort of just does its thing. Right in the middle, really easy to reach. Then we have front defrost. So that'll crank the fans and everything to defrost your front windshield. Over to the right, we have our heated rear windshield and heated mirrors. And believe it or not, that uses a lot of battery. I remember learning that in school, that it's really hard to create heat with electricity. So anything that creates heat with electricity uses a lot of battery or fuel. So just a little dusty tip there. The RX has a really beautifully done climate control system. So you have these knobs on either side. Essentially, you just turn them and they have sort of like a little rainbow backing. It's really nice. And depending if it's synced or not, that changes the temperature. I usually just leave it on auto 21 because we're in Canada. But if you wanted to override it, you could just use this little slider, crank that fan speed up or crank it down, whatever you want, turn it off if you wish. And then also we have things like recirc mode. So we can actually change the recirc mode or the AC. But again, once we do auto, it's gonna knock those things off and the car is gonna do most of the thinking there. And speaking of heated seats, that's how you turn them on, as they're not physical buttons, they're electronic, they're on a touchscreen. So we have heated, again, I usually leave it in auto, but if you wanted to do your heated and cooled, you could do so, and the cooling seats does work really well. Also, a lot of people think this little man is just a diagram, but it's actually a button, and that's how you change where the flow is doing. However, again, once you hit auto, it's gonna knock that out because auto is gonna do all of the things. Then we have a heated steering wheel. There's 2 settings for that as well as auto. And then we have this button. Again, no one ever realizes that this is a button, and that is the front and rear switch. So if we hit rear, I think I have to turn the rear on first, but that's how you switch it to being able to control the rear climate control as well. Sync, which syncs the right side and the left side of the vehicle, and then we have the passenger heated and cooled seats. So all that climate control is done through the screen, which is pretty cool. And I'm just gonna show you really quickly just the screen here. This is the home screen where you're going to set it up, and I do have other videos of a little bit deeper of a dive, but there is a lot of features in here. I know I said that this is a deep dive video, but it's really not. There is like your tire pressures, you can see your all-wheel drive working, trip information, so a little bit of fuel economy and averages, things like that. Driving assists. This is a really important one because you want to make sure all of your driving assists are on. From the factory or from the dealership, usually this one here, the proactive driving assist, is usually off. And usually, I think that's because some people don't love it. It's kind of weird at first. It's like having an extra bubble of protection around the vehicle. And because of that, when you come up to another car in traffic, you might feel the car take over and slow down a little bit. I absolutely love it. I leave it on. Every car that I drive has my proactive driving assist on. And we have all the other features like road sign assist, which just like it says, it'll show you a road sign here in the screen, whether you're construction zone, stop sign, etc. Pre-collision system, I don't have to explain that. Rear camera detection, again, added level detection when you're parking. Rear cross traffic alert, safe exit assist. So because the door handles and doors are so intelligent, when you go to leave the vehicle, if there was a car coming, you wouldn't be able to open the door. It actually knows that. So that is the safe exit assist. Blind spot monitoring, parking support brake, intuitive parking assist, and lane departure alert. That's all right there. There is an extra button for climate control, and you could do climate concierge, which I really like, letting the car do all of its thinking automatically by auto. We also have smart flow, which makes it so only the occupied seats get all the AC and heating. Eco cool, which is nice, and eco heat, saving on gas. And then de-icer, hidden feature, please pay attention. De-icer heats up your windshield wipers. So if you're in Canada and it's that awkward time of the year where like you go to use your wipers and the streaks because there's ice everywhere, hit that button, it'll change your life for the better. And over to the right of that is the little 9 dots, whatever it is. And this, we have some frequently used buttons over to the left, so like sport mode, eco mode, all that. And then we have some comfort and convenience features to the right, max heat, you can silent things, max cool, and we can swipe over to the right. We have our actual drive mode, so normal, eco, sport, and then more driving assist. So it's like another screen to get to all of those features. And again, maybe not everybody knows that that's there, but it is. One more thing about the screen, and I promise I'm done because I wasn't gonna talk too much about the screen today, is from the factory, they come with a screen protector. So this one right now, you can tell by the way it's shining, it's a little bit matte finishy. That's because there's a screen protector on it, and you wouldn't be able to tell that by looking at the edges. The only reason I found this out was because a guest of mine said, well, my screen is scratched. And actually you can kind of see it in my light here. You can see some light scratches. And that's because it's not on the glass, it's on the shipping screen protector, which you would just sort of like use your fingernail and start to peel off. And again, I don't mind doing this because someone's gonna buy this car and take it off anyway. And then you'll see that that actually will come off. I'm not gonna do it because I want this to be protected for the next owner, but make sure you take your screen protector off because that'll really help. Okay, before I get out, there's a few more that I wanna go over. One of them is in some of these cars, there is usually a picture of me. Oh, there it is right there in the mirror. This is the regular mirror, and it doesn't have the switch at the bottom to do the camera in the back. It being the luxury package, it's just right there. There is still some electronics to it, like it auto tints, for instance, when there's high beams behind you. And we have some garage door openers that you can program here. There's a way to do that. There's a bunch of YouTube videos on it. As we look up, we have our sunroof controls. So you can open and close the visor because this is a pano roof. You can open and tilt it, so you can just tilt it if you wanted. Then we have the dome light for the doors when the doors are open. Make sure that's on, because if not, you're gonna get in your car and it's gonna be dark inside. And then we have map lights and dome lights. So that's all just very soft touch, and it works really well. Then we have our little secret sunglass holder where I always leave my sunglasses and forget about them. And we also have our little armrest glove box, and you can open that from either side, which is really nice. The seat controls are on the bottom of that base. You can kind of just think of like, this is like the base of the seat. It looks like the base of the seat, and it acts how you control it. And some people don't know you can twist it too. So if you twist it, it does different things. So we can raise and lower the front of the seat. We can raise and lower the back of the seat, or the actual base of the seat, or forward and backward to slide. Then we have this is just the tilt. So that's for the backrest. Pretty easy. And this is our lumbar. And this is a luxury package, so we really only have those few settings, but still pretty good for the price that you pay. On the back door, we don't have as many buttons and features, but we still have that electronic door handle, and it works the exact same. We have one window switch, and when you press it, the window goes all the way down, and when you pull up, it goes all the way up. And by the way, these come a little bit tinted from the factory, which is nice. Then we have our lock and unlock there, and that's pretty much it on the door panel. Even there's like a little speaker screen there. Okay, so sitting in the back of the RX 350, we have a lot of space here because it's a bigger interior. The main features that we have in terms of back here is this climate control. This is really the only electronics that the back passengers have access to. So we have a USB-C on either side of that center little area, and both of them are quick chargers. We have heated and cooled seats. And I don't think you can do auto in these. No, you can just do manual. So we're gonna do either 3, 2, 1 for heat and the same for cooled. And it's pretty amazing having cooled seats in the back of your car. I think that's a flex when you bring your friends with you and you guys are playing tennis or golf or something and you're in your shorts and you can turn on those cooled seats and it cools you off all the right places. I think that's the best. And then we could also adjust the climate back here and the fan will kick on and off and that sort of thing for these backseat passengers, because just because you're in the backseat doesn't mean you don't deserve luxury. Then the center armrest, we have cup holders that fold away, sort of just like a storage space. It's not big enough for like an iPad or something, but you could put maybe a Game Boy. Do people use Game Boys anymore? You can put something back there, that's for sure. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we do have the panel roof, which is important. It gives us a lot of light back here. That's pretty much it back here. Not a ton to go over in the backseat. I will say there is a lever that a lot of people don't realize, and that is at the bottom of the backrest. So the bottom of the backrest, that's the lever, and when you pull it, that's how you fold down the seat. Equally as important, if we were to be sitting here while I did that, that's how you recline. So now that seat is reclined because of I pulled on that little lever at the bottom. Okay, so let's go to the back of the RX, but not before just giving you a good look at how good this copper crest looks. I will say I love this paint color. I love it most in the sunlight where you can see a lot of that depth. Actually, maybe with the light I have, you can kind of see the flake here, but in sunlight, outdoors is the way to view this car. And with the taillight and the Lexus emblem, I think it's super sharp. I think they did a great job. Okay, so back here, we have our hidden wiper, which I have a video of how to change the wiper blade because it is hidden, but we're not talking about that today. We're sticking to the basics. So to open the trunk, you just find the X. X marks the spot, or in this case, the opening trunk mechanism. And how you do that is underneath it, there's just a little soft button. And inside, we're greeted by a spacious yet appropriately heighted trunk space. And inside, we have some accessories that come with the Lexus. So we have this net that sort of just goes there. It hooks on to either side, and then it hooks up here to be able to give you a place to put things that are loose and flopping around your trunk. Then we have this carpeted mat. So I do recommend doing the cargo liner, which is like a rubber mat. It's like a hard rubber mat to protect it, especially if you're gonna have any type of messes back here, because it's really hard to vacuum and have to like sweep carpet where you could just have hard plastic. Then we have our summer mats, because usually we have our winter mats in. Nice little Lexus emblem there as well. Here's how to use the tonneau cover. So it sort of just clicks in like that, and then when someone looks in the back of your trunk, you can't see anything because it's covered over. And to release it, I just apply pressure and it flops back into place. If you ever lose one of these, they're like a lot of money. So if you're not gonna use it, make sure you put it somewhere safe. No, I don't think you can fit it under here. In some cars, you can fit it under that fake floor, not the RX. We do have a spare tire, however, a full-size spare tire. We have our jack. We have a great little cubby, which we have our little Lexus books and medic kit in. That's a great spot for that, but definitely you have more space for other things, like cleaning products, etc. That's what I would put in there. Then back here, we have some switches. So I have a power switch to fold down my seats. So we have left and right, and pretty self-explanatory. When I hit that button, I'll show you, it just releases it down. In this package, it won't bring the seats back up, but it releases it down. So if you had to put a 2x4 or something in, that seat is now down. And then we have our little hooks beside that. These are our grocery hooks. If you have a grocery bag, you could hook it on there. And then we also have our 12-volt outlet as well. So that's pretty much everything for the trunk space. And to close it, we just look up, and there's two buttons here. There is the regular close button, and then the lock and close button. Now the lock and close button is a little confusing because people will press it and then be like, oh, it didn't do anything. It's because it's waiting for you to walk away with the key in your pocket. I'm just gonna hit this one. I usually do, I don't know, I just like the consistency of it. I just hit shut, and then I go and lock the car, either with the key or with the dimple. So there you have it. Every button and feature on an RX 350 luxury package as asked for by you in the comment section. So let me know what you think of this video as well. If you did enjoy it, let me know what other style of videos you would like done like this, or what other models you want me to do. And I do recognize it's a luxury package, so it doesn't have all the features that your car might have if you have a higher package, but at least I covered most of it. And as a friendly reminder, if you find me on Instagram, comment on one of my photos saying RX 350 for a chance to win some Lexus swag. I'm gonna give away 3 things, so you have 1 of 3 chances to win. So I don't know if you've heard, but I got a new demo recently. The RX 350h luxury package. And the reason I'm gonna do this video today is my 1-month review on driving this car every single day. Now remember, I was coming from an IS 350. So a lot of things of the RX 350 that I talk about in the dealership every day, but still surprise me when driving it. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe for more Lexus related content, and make sure you let me know in the comments below of any video ideas that you'd like to see. Okay, jumping right into things here. So the RX 350 hybrid. One of the first things I noticed when getting into this vehicle from the IS 350 was the safety sense. So this is something that, again, I talk about all the time and I can sell from a brochure, but actually driving it every day, a few things stuck out to me. One being the proactive driving assist combined with radar cruise control in the city. And what I mean by that is with the IS 350, since it's the older generation Lexus safety sense, I definitely felt like it was more of a nudge on the shoulder than like the car actually paying attention. And it's something that I take for granted every day is this car is constantly paying attention to everything around it all the time. I don't know what this motion was, but it was the best way that I could describe it. And a lot of that is the proactive driving assist. So the proactive driving assist is like a bubble surrounding the car, and it doesn't matter if you have radar cruise control on or lane departure. If the person in front of you slows down and stops, so will your car. The other day I was driving to work and I happened to drive through sort of like a school zone, and this car's coming in and out of it, and I was waiting for my espresso to kick in, and the car in front of me suddenly stopped because there was a student walking in front of them. And my car just calmly stopped as well. It wasn't abrupt, it wasn't like beeping and yelling at me, it just slowed to a stop because the car in front of me did, and that's how much the RX is paying attention with the newest Lexus Safety Sense. But that's not all. The other day I was driving to work, and there is some construction on Highway 406, which is near my house, and I know it goes down to 1 lane. And even before I got to the part of the highway where the construction is, my car verbally said out loud, braking ahead. And I don't know if that was the Apple CarPlay. I didn't have a destination logged in. I don't know if it was the cloud-based navigation, but something told me that there's braking ahead, and I couldn't even see the braking yet. And a big part of that is also what's called AI machine learning. And if you ever look at the top of the windshield of any of the newer Lexuses, there's some cameras and some sensors and things like that. And all that is Lexus investment for the future in learning how Canadians and Americans and North Americans and South Americans and Europe and everybody in the world is driving, so that the machine, the car, can learn how to adapt and how those safety features can get better. So those were like the safety feature parts that were pleasantly surprising. But there's more inside to tell you about. Another thing I've learned is on the inside, and that is this. The car is running and you don't hear anything going on. So the fact that it's a hybrid, we don't feel that vibration. It's got amazing fuel economy. In fact, my fuel economy right now, let's look it up, I believe is 6.8. 6.8 liters per 100 kilometers, and I have been ripping this thing. And I do probably about half highway, half city, maybe a little bit more highway than city. And I haven't had to go to the gas station in almost like a week and a half, when in previous RXs and ISs, I was going every couple days, it seemed. So even just the fuel economy alone has been a big plus for it. And the fact that it's so smooth has been like the benefit. But the other thing is, this time around with this RX, I've actually set up things the way it should be set up. Usually these are company cars and I don't like to put too much personalization on it, but this time around I did. And because of that, I have things like the cloud-based navigation hooked up. I have things like the driver profile, so that when I get in and the car says, "Welcome, Dustin Mason," it's an added bit of luxury that when my friends get in and see that, they're like, "Oh, my car doesn't say my name when I get into it." Because as Dale Carnegie said, the most beautiful word in the English language is your own name. And the car is saying that word to me, which I think is a nice touch. But not only that, the other thing is the Lexus app. So this time around, I also hooked up the Lexus app to be actually active. So I can see my door lock status, if I parked it down the street and I forgot to lock it, if there's anything in the back seat, how much gas I have, how the tire pressures are, all of those things. Or if I let one of the staff use it and they say they're just grabbing lunch quick, but I can see on my phone that they're not just grabbing lunch quick, that they stopped at like 20 places around town before coming back. Not that I actually do that, but I could check all that stuff. And it is cool having that app actually working. Also the fact how comfortable it is. So one of the things that I do is every Wednesday, I go to flight lessons. And the cool thing about flight lessons is it's way in the middle of nowhere in the country. And I have to go through some stone roads, some bumpy roads, some, windy roads, a mixture of them. And in the IS, that was all really fun because it's like a little sports car that I could hug around corners. But it got to a point that it was also, pretty cumbersome, like on my body. Like I was sometimes tired when I got there. With this RX and all those safety features and the fact that it's a smooth hybrid and a midsize and a smooth midsize, I was able to just sort of like hit my cruise control, still enjoy those windy roads, but I was less fatigued when I got there. And I think that's always been one of the main selling features of the RX is it's a mid-size SUV that rides like a mid-size sedan, or sometimes even a full-size sedan. So when you get to your destination, you feel like you didn't really have to work hard to get there. And I would say that's a part of the hybrid system that people forget about. It's not just about fuel economy numbers and horsepower numbers. None of that matters if you don't enjoy the drive. And if the drive is too much work. I have a couple friends with some GT3 RS Porsches, and they just did a big road trip a couple months ago. And they said they were so tired by the time they got there. Like, it was an amazing experience, but it took so much out of them because those cars are so visceral. With the RX, I almost feel refreshed when I get there. I have my Spotify playing through wireless Apple CarPlay. It's accurate, it's smooth, it does what I want it to do. I can make a couple calls if I want. Everything is relaxing and productive at the same time. And because of the new Lexus multimedia system being so easy to use once you set it up, it's not like I'm messing around with buttons as I'm driving. I'm doing a couple clicks, I'm driving, and I'm able to think about, my flight lesson that I'm going to or after the flight lesson and how it went, and I'm able to like really be in the zone instead of like, kind of getting my butt there and hauling there and being tired when I get there. Instead, I can just enjoy the drive. And I think something about the hybrid is that it seems like the car doesn't even have to work that hard. I mean, not having that gas engine kick on all the time, And being able to like just get in it and put it in drive real quick, it's just one of those things that it adds to that experience, or it makes it so that the actual drive isn't as draining as it could be. And, you know, some people will say, you know, luxury cars are so numb feeling, you know, you don't feel the road. In this case, I don't want to feel the road. I just want to get there feeling refreshed so I can focus on the task at hand. And if you look at any of the Lexus commercials lately, sort of that's what they focus on. You don't see them focusing on, you know, someone putting their driving gloves on and stuff like that and getting in an RX, but you'll see the person, I remember one of the recent ones is like the CEO woman prepping for a big speech, like a TED Talk. And she's in her condo overlooking the city and she's practicing and she's in the car and she's practicing and she gets there and she nails it. It was about the car doing its purpose in that presentation. And I think that's a really cool way of reminding ourselves that Lexus isn't just about the car, but it's about the people in the car and the experience they have. And in this case, I felt really refreshed. And you used to have to get an LS 500 for that. You used to have to get the fully loaded flagship SUV LX for that. But it comes in an RX, and it comes in a hybrid RX. So that's what I find with sort of the interior at least. Okay, so another pleasant surprise has been the color of this interior. So this is the Palomino interior. I'm usually a black or a red interior type of guy, but this Palomino, I keep getting compliments on it. Anybody that borrows my car, any of my friends that get in this car, everybody is always like, oh my God, I love this interior, including my girlfriend who's been in this car tons of times. Every time she gets in the front seat and sees the Palomino with that wood grain, she's like, I love this car so much. And it even is comfortable for my dog. So the backseat of the RX is very spacious and is a good size for humans, but also my golden doodle, who's a tall, lanky, derpy little guy, has tons of room back here that I can put some blankets down. He sort of just stays on. He doesn't hit his head anywhere. He's super comfortable back here. Sometimes I fold down the seats and have him sort of like on the seats, but he's a spoiled Lexus dog, so he likes to sit sort of like on the cushions itself. And then also I tend to just put stuff back here. So even as I just went to open this up to do this video, I forgot that I went to Herc's today and got some protein powder. And no, I'm not necessarily a vegan, but the other stuff hurts my tummy. So I usually get this, and I always just have stuff back here because of how much space there is. Okay, well, trunk-wise, obviously coming from an IS 350, it's a big difference, but I haven't really used it to its full potential yet. I've put maybe some cushions and a few Costco runs and stuff like that back here, but in the summertime, it seemed like when I had the IS, I was always moving big things that would barely fit in the IS, like tanning beds and just random summer activities. I never put my surfboard in it, but I would have just strapped it to the roof anyway, and I don't think that would fit inside the RX regardless. But the fact that there is some more space back here, I mean, it would probably have been great to have this in the summer because then I could have just like sat back here with my dog and ate some chicken McNuggets or something like that and just enjoyed being outdoors. And I didn't really use that to the fullest capacity, but snowboard season is coming up and maybe I'll use this for a little bit more snowboard or video shoots or something fun like that. So all in all, it has been a great experience driving this for the last month. I put about 2,000 kilometers on it, and I can say I'm pleasantly surprised, even with the fact that I talk about these cars every day, and I talk to people that drive these cars every single day. And a few of the biggest takeaways are definitely the hybrid powertrain. I find it so smooth, so fuel efficient, so luxurious, and the only time I feel like it's lacking is maybe like at higher speeds on the highway. And it sort of has changed my entire outlook on hybrids. I'm a motorhead. I like V8s, I like big turbocharged Toyota Supras. I like all of those engine and visceral experiences, but this definitely serves a place in my life right now. And it makes me think that the only where to go from here that I could enjoy even more would be an RX 500. I think if I could go back and convince my boss to let me take an RX 500 instead, now that I've fallen in love with the hybrid powertrain, I think that would be a nice balance of, you know, a little bit of driving experience with some extra horses under the hood and still that fuel economy and smooth hybrid powertrain that I have fallen in love with the RX 350h. So much more to come as I continue to drive this over the next couple months and fall more and more in love with it. But at the end of the day, I can see why it's so popular. Every time I do a video on the RX, it does well, and it's because a lot of people love it, and I can definitely see why. So Let me know in the comments below what you think of this video. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines, and I will see you in the next video. Why is the RX 350 so popular? It's probably time we dug into this a little bit. The RX 350 has been the top seller not only in the Lexus lineup since its inception in the 90s, but also in the luxury midsize SUV market. I mean, when you compare the sales numbers to some of the competitors, it's not just our bread and butter, it's our bread, butter, and gravy when you think about it. And I've always been asked, why is the RX so successful and continues to be so successful? And there's really many factors to think about. I mean, the latest RX 350 that you see beside me here, there's technically 13 variations of the same car. Meaning, even if someone's budget is $60,000, or if someone's willing to spend $85,000, there's chances are there is an RX for you. And even the RX 350 Turbo, which is what we call the regular RX 350, the non-hybrid one, we have, in Canada at least, the premium package, which is the entry level. We have the luxury package, which used to be sort of the mid-level, but now comes with a ton of equipment like panel roofs and things like that. Then you have the ultra luxury package, which adds some tech to that luxury, and the executive, which is the fully loaded one beside me. But underneath that same RX 350 Turbo, we have a whole other lineup of RXs, the F Sport 1, the F Sport 2, and the F Sport 3. And usually when I'm talking about these to guests, I'll start off by making that divide as early on as I can. Because when you look at those two sets of packages, you don't have to sacrifice features for style. So if someone likes the features of a luxury RX, but loves the styling of the F Sport variation, because maybe the wheels or the grille or the seats, you don't have to make a sacrifice. You could just go with an F Sport 1 or an F Sport 2, depending on your price point. And even the F Sport 3 and the Executive are pretty much the same feature list vehicle, however, just packaged different. So whether you're a older Lexus owner who's had, one every couple years for the last 30 years, or if you're a young professional that's getting their first Lexus and they want something a little sportier, chances are there's something in that RX Turbo range. Now, we also have the RX 350h. So that one, we just have, our premium, our luxury, our ultra luxury, our executive. We don't have any F Sports in the 350h range, but you now can get that hybrid, regular gas powertrain that's super smooth and great on gas. But let's say you wanted a hybrid that is a sport as well. Lexus came out with the highly anticipated, in my mind, RX 500h, which gave you the F Performance 2 and the F Performance 3. And here's a beast of an SUV that's gonna cost you around $85,000 Canadian, but that has over 400 torque, tons of features, tons of power, big brakes, all of these high performance things packaged in a very nice and still pretty affordable RX, packaging. So a big part of it, in my opinion, is the marketing and variations of how many boxes you can check with an RX. Whether you're a 25-year-old, dental assistant or something like that, there's an RX for you. Even if you're a family of 5 that needs an SUV, there's probably an RX for you. And of course, the older generation of Lexus owners, there's an RX for you too. But enough about the marketing. There's more to it. Think about this. At the time of filming this video, you can find on AutoTrader in Canada that a 2016 RX 350 is still selling for 30 grand. That's the average market price of the RX 350. Now, when you think about it, that car is almost 9 years old, and it only started around the $60,000 range when it was new. And most of them were probably like $67,000 for like the F2, the F Sport Series 2 and the luxury packages. So why is it that the RX has such great resale value? I mean, even this one beside me, right now, we're selling for $72,500 and it's fully loaded. So does that mean in 9 years, it's still gonna be worth 30 grand? To put in perspective, even the competitors, which I won't say any names, but if you look up some of the high-end luxury German competitors, you'll find that on average for 2016, you're gonna see them for sale around the 24 range, maybe around the $20,000 range. And $6,000 to $10,000 difference is a big deal when those cars started higher than the RX. So why is that? Well, it's simple. Reliability is a big part of it. When a car has a life cycle or a lifespan of a set amount of time, the closer you get to that set amount of time, the less money it's gonna be worth. With the RX, we've never had big, high horsepower engines and big, expensive moving parts. We've always used things like a Toyota engine that's been tried and true, that classic 3.5 liter V6 that was in almost everything in the Toyota lineup at the time, from Camrys to Highlanders to Siennas. And Lexus started incorporating that in our ES350s, our RX350s, and then even some other V6s in our IS and RC lineup. So what we came up with was a very tried and true power plant with a very tried and true powertrain, so even the transmission and things like that. And because of that, people knew what they were gonna get. They knew that it was gonna go as long as they needed it to go for. I've even seen that older powertrain go up to like 800,000 kilometers. And because of we didn't try to reach for the stars, it was a very reliable and low maintenance cost, low to maintain SUV in the luxury world, where some of the competitors had a high maintenance cost. And this was more like maintaining a Toyota instead of a luxury vehicle. But that's not all. Inside, we have layers and layers of high material craftsmanship. And the reason that's so important is the interior is where the owner spends most of their time, meaning it's a very important part of the car. And with the RX, we always found an ample amount of usable space, so you never felt claustrophobic in any of the models, even back before that redesign in 2016. And the materials of the dashboard, the seats, and even some of the bezels and trim pieces are always high quality. We have different soft touch leathers, we have ultra suedes in the newer models, a very nice classy wood grain, and of course, for many years, the classic Lexus clock that was in the center. And because of that, the driving experience, although critics online will say it was numbing or not invigorating in any way, but it wasn't pretending to be, and it still isn't pretending to be, except for the RX 500h. And in most of the RXs, what you'll find is a smooth, comfortable, and quiet ride. Whether you like to crank the Mark Levinson sound system and sing at the top of your lungs, or if you're one of those people that have no radio playing and you just want to be alone with your thoughts. Both of those types of buyers will find themselves at home in the RX. And now, with the newer models, we find ourselves on that sort of the leading edge of technology, where we were always on the trailing edge, to use an aviation term. And what I mean by that is now we have things like wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, connected services, connected technology, and most importantly, and I can't stress this enough, the RX 350, you don't have to pay any extra for safety features. So things like proactive driving assist, things like lane centering assist, pre-collision systems, radar cruise controls, all those things, you don't have to pay extra for because it's standard, because Lexus decided we're gonna make safety standard in these cars. So for the average buyer, as they're going around comparing different brands and models, they come across the RX. And here is a car that's smooth to drive, quiet, luxurious feeling on the inside. The styling on the outside is very, very attractive, especially in the F Sports, if you ask me. And also financially reliable, low maintenance costs, and at an affordable price point, it made it a no-brainer for everybody. And then we found ourselves with a very usable mid-sized space in the back. Here's something that you could have a couple sets of golf clubs, a couple kids in the back seats. You could fold down those rear seats for those oversized Costco runs. And when you look at the rear of the RX, here's a car that, again, most of the time costs $70,000 on average, something like that, but looks like it should be well over $100,000. And that's something that we forget to talk about sometimes when we're talking about luxury vehicles, and that is the presence they have on the road. And some people will say that, is it just a badged Toyota with a Lexus emblem on it? And I think Lexus has done a pretty good job of diverting from the Toyota roots. So it's like we learned the reliability and the production methods of Toyota and took it up a notch to make it a Lexus. And even though people will argue this on the internet, if you see someone pull up in a Lexus, usually you don't think that that's just a fancy Toyota. Usually the word Lexus has some meaning behind it. And I even have one of my favorite guests tell me that it improved his business because when he would pull up to a client's house or business, he would pull up in his Lexus, which automatically took him a level up. And I've heard some realtors say the same thing. So if you ask me, why is the RX so popular and has continued to be so popular? Well, it's not the easiest question to answer. Styling, reliability, amazing resale value, and great bang for your buck without having to sacrifice anything else means anybody who's car shopping, even if it's for a small SUV, will find themselves at least considering the midsize RX 350 or a 500h. And based on recent sales numbers over the last couple of years, I would say most of them found what they were looking for in the one behind me. Today's video is brought to you by the comment section because I was reading the comments today and I read that someone was looking for a video on an RX 350 F Sport, and they said, you always do the 500, so why not do the 350? And I thought, that sounds like a perfect video for tonight. So what we're gonna do is use the Insta360 Flow, which I'm not sponsored by the way, but Insta360, if you're watching, I do love your product, so please hit me up. And we're gonna go over in depth on the RX 350 F Sport Series 3. So this is the fully loaded RX 350. In other markets, it's packaged a little bit different. But let's go over all the buttons, functions. I'll try to get up close and personal and go over it in the most depth as I can. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe for more Lexus related content. Okay, so I parked it specifically this way because I do find certain angles of the RX 350 F Sport just look absolutely amazing. So I'm just gonna kind of like play Mr. Photographer here for a second and give you a little bit of this angle. When you're looking at it, there's something about parking a car with that wheel turn that when you're looking at it, you can really see a lot of the body lines. In this particular case, pay attention to that grille and side vents. So again, when you're up close, when you're further away, when it's parked, when it's rolling, all of those things play a difference when you're looking at these types of details of the car. But when you get up close, you'll see, so the F Sport has this little hatching type grille, and it is piano black. It's not like that textured black. It is quite the shiny piano black. And we also have it on each side. There's a little bit of a vent there, but for the most part, this is like more of a decoration. And then we see it fade away at the top of the grille. Now, when Lexus first came out with this, I was like, what are they doing? And then I realized this is to sort of mimic what we're seeing in the design language of the EVs in the marketplace right now. So EVs usually don't have a grille. They have more of like a texture or like, you know, a little bit more of a decoration than anything else. And Lexus has decided to go a little bit of that route with the RX 350 and incorporate both design languages together. I should mention, this is the ultra white. So in the F Sport, you have a different white color than, for instance, the luxury or the executive. And really the only difference is when you get up close to it, you'll see there isn't much flake at all. There is a little bit of shimmer or flake or pearlescent. I don't know the difference from just looking at them. And that with the black accents to me are absolutely just make the car. And even the RX 350 in black with the black accents I think is really cool, but the ultra white really is spectacular. Also taking a look, so this one being the fully loaded, we have that triple beam headlight system. So you can see there's 3 sets of headlights there. People ask me all the time, what's the difference between the triple beam and just like the normal one? For one, I think it looks a lot cooler on the outside of the vehicle, like you see here. And then 2, this also gives us, I'm gonna say it wrong, the intelligent adaptive high beam, or maybe it's just called adaptive high beam, which I've talked about in a lot of videos. Essentially, it's a high beam system that instead of just like when a car is coming, the whole system shuts the high beams off, it just shuts the high beam off that's facing that object. So the rest of your vision is still very bright. Also, in this package, we have the front-facing camera, and you can see that right under that heated Lexus emblem. That is going to give us the bird's eye view and a little bit of stuff with that. That's a lot of the design language of the front end. I will just mention there is also that little lip at the bottom. It's kind of like a silver. Let's start to walk around to the side. You'll see we got a little sensor right here. This guy is a parking sensor. And there's lots of sensors all over this thing. Everything from like front cross traffic, rear cross traffic, parking sensors, any of that Lexus safety sense. Obviously it's got sensors that read like stop signs and stuff like that too. But more importantly, I want to bring your attention to this massive brake here. This is one of the most overlooked details about this car. The brakes on the RX 350 F Sport are huge. It's a 6-piston brake caliper with an absolute beast of a rotor. Now, because there is a fatal flaw with this, and it's not really fatal, because it's such a big brake, it doesn't get used the way it needs to. And what I mean by that is, it's very rare that an owner of one of these RX 350s is on the brakes hard like a race car. And because of that, I find the rotors do show a lot of rust. This one was a demo, and you can see the wear on that rotor is very inconsistent. It's not totally flat. And because of that, sometimes people think there's something wrong, or sometimes they think that they need new brakes, when in fact, we just need to like stomp on that brake a little bit. Also, I will show you the little vents that are there, because it's rare that you get to see that. So there is some vent, some cooling for those brakes and tires, which is nice. The tires themselves are an Eagle Touring tire. I think it's pretty good all around Goodyear. Nothing really, I don't know enough about it, to be honest, to talk about. I was gonna pretend to, but I don't know. I just know a couple tires. Side profile, so you can see we got that F Sport logo, which actually has a nice little shimmer to it, especially because the back is white and it kind of matches the body. We have those black accents again. We do have chrome that is exposed. It'd be cool to have that blacked out sometimes, but I'm not opposed to it for sure. Obviously, I already took the handle off because this had a dead battery earlier, but we have that electronic door handle here. So you can see that in action. Pretty self-explanatory there. And then that beautiful red interior. But I'm gonna get to that in a second. I mainly just wanted to turn on that headlight and show you the rear with that taillight. So again, just another detail to think about. Sometimes when people are car shopping, they forget to check things like the taillight, because how often are you behind the car that you're driving? Well, I'm here to tell you, you should pay attention, because the back end of the RX, especially the F Sport, is just absolutely beautiful. Look at it. When this car got first redesigned and it came out in 2023, the first thing I noticed was that back end reminded me more of Porsche or one of those brands than it did the rest of the Lexus lineup. And I meant that in a complimentary way, because those are some body lines and some design language that I've always been a fan of. Then we have at the bottom that textured plastic. Some people love it, some people hate it. I think it's great. And then it's complemented by some of the piano black and very hidden exhausts, super hidden. You can't even tell they're there. But we felt like we had to still put something on each side, as you can see, which is kind of funny. And the reason we don't have exhausts is because of a lot of cars coming out are going to be more that hybrid EV. So Lexus didn't want this thing to look ancient by the time, it's still on the road, because we know Lexus will last forever. Lots of space. All of these come with the net, as well as that carpet mat, as well as the carpet mats for the floors. So you can see all of that here. 9 times out of 10, when cars get traded in, the carpets are still in the plastic. So, to each their own with that. The rubbers do a great job. And then we have some buttons back here. So we do have left, right switches, and that's so we can fold down those seats. So if I press it, I'm just pressing it with my hand there, you can see that seat's folding down, and it's power, because this is the F3. And then I can actually walk away from it and it's still going down. So that's kind of cool. It is slow. I'm not gonna say it's fast. So I'm actually gonna start putting it back up, because we're gonna go back there in a second. And that's pretty much the back. I mean, if we really wanted to get in some details, I can show you. We got some stuff here. We got the full-size spare, which is important. We have the jack. And then we have a little storage space here where I like to put all the books. So that's where the medic kit is, that's where the books are, stuff like that. And how could I possibly forget the grocery hook, which is hidden off to the side here. I do love me a good grocery hook. And that's the back of it. So let's go to the front. I'm gonna do a little bit of the interior. We'll go through some buttons in there. I'm probably gonna miss some buttons, but I just wanted to show more or less the F Sport side of things. So let's check it out. So going into it, so obviously the handle we can just press, it's electronic. So it opens up really easy. If we needed to override it, you can see I already have this piece popped off for another reason, but you would unlock it with that, with your key shank. And here, we would actually pull on this little lever. You're only gonna do that if you have a dead battery, put it that way. So this is the Rioja red interior. Because of that, we have an armrest that's also red. I'm looking at the camera right now and I'm telling you, in person, it doesn't look as bright as in the camera. So I hope that helps people. Also, we have this beautiful Ultra Suede. It's branded Ultra Suede. I like to call it Alcantara because that's what it reminds me of. But it is just a really, really soft suede. We have the Mark Levinson sound system. And then that's the other side of that door handle that I talked about. So that's the electronic door handle from the inside. Also, we have, a little water bottle holder here, and there's the Lexus puddle light. So you can see when you open the door at nighttime, that shines on the ground. If you're not in a shiny showroom, you can still kind of see it. But that's right there included in this package. Let's talk about the seats a little bit on the inside. So again, we got the red. And in terms of like seat controls, because it's the Sport, it doesn't have the extra thigh extension. So right here on the Luxury, you can actually extend it out a little bit. On the Sport, you'll see the switches are just the same on every package. So you have two-way lumbar, not four-way. And then it goes forward, backward, all using these switches. And it's important I note, F3 gives you the trim Alcantara on these seats. I love the F Sport Series seats, so that's that. Okay, let's sit in. Okay, so here is the seating position on the F3. You'll notice, even though the suede is here, it stops. And then the accents for the rest of the cabin are either the interior color, which is red, or the silver. No, it's almost like a brushed chrome on the rest of it. In terms of buttons, over to the left, we do have this little change holder, which I've definitely forgotten to show people in the past. So if you have one of these cars, I'm sorry, I might have forgotten to show you that. Above that, we have the fuel door and the trunk. And the reason I really like where they put that is when you're sitting here, you can see those. So having buttons that when you need them, you don't have to think and you can just like go and press them is great. Same with the door switches. Or sorry, not the door switches, the seat switches. So this is the memory seat. So to set, you're just gonna go press, and then you could set 1, 2, and 3. That'll do your steering wheel, your seat, and your mirrors. And then above that, we have our dimmer and odometer buttons. Again, there was many years Lexus had that like hidden behind the steering wheel, and even I sometimes would struggle to find it. And everybody knows I'm like the Lexus guy, and I still would be like, oh, where's that button? Interesting enough, this part of the interior is a little different. So the trim on the F Sport for the center here, it looks three-dimensional. It looks like someone took like a grinder to a piece of metal and like created some lines in it. I think that's what they were going for. But it is plastic. It does look really, really cool. I like the three-dimensional look. I think even though it's a different color than like the gray on the steering wheel, I think that's on purpose. I think they still tie well together. The armrest, you can open from both sides, and you do that just from the little button right there. It's decent enough, lots of space. It's a big armrest too. That's a big difference between the NX and the RX, is that armrest is big. We have a couple buttons here. We have a terrain select mode. We have traction control off. We have the brake hold. This is something that's not in the hybrid, is we have the override switch for the auto off feature. So this is one of those cars that when you're at a red light, the engine could shut off. Because of that, you can override that if you're not a fan of it. Then we have the parking brake. So I always just set that to auto. We have downhill assist control, which where I live, I don't really need, but if you live in an area that does, it's not a bad thing to have. Then we have the shifter. So this is the style of shifter that you put it in gear and you just let go. It's the same on the hybrid or non-hybrid. And then there's the park switch there. The cup holders are still really unique. Oh, by the way, that's that little piece that goes on the outside door handle. You can press down on it or up if you want a different size cup. We have some storage in there with the wireless charger for your phone. And there's also a USB-C and USB-A in there. And then 2 USB-Cs here. We have a little shelf. You might notice 2 buttons here that are only on the fully loaded. So this is the bird's eye view or the panoramic view monitor. And this is the auto park feature, which goes in conjunction why we have the electronic door shift now, or gear shift. My words are all over the place today. I'm gonna start the car. You'll notice I'm gonna press unlock first because we are experimenting with immobilizers right now. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. If you're driving one of these cars, probably you have a screen protector on and you don't know it. Usually the telltale, you can see on my screen, the light is kind of reflecting it in a weird way. And that's because there is the screen protector on it. There really isn't a seam. You have to just sort of use your fingernail and start it, and then you'll see it start to peel off. So the actual screen underneath, you will see It's very shiny, it's very bonded glass. So there you go. So you can see on this one, even though it doesn't look like it, it does have a screen protector on. And I'm just gonna leave that on because it's our showroom car. Even though it's a grounded demo, I'm still gonna leave it on. I really wanted to show you the other side of the bird's eye view. So this is when you're parked, it just does like an overview. So you can see, it's kind of cool because you can see the showroom. It's in color, so you can see the blue LC is picking up on that. But if we were in an actual gear, you would see it front facing or rear facing, and it would be bird's eye view all around you. But you sort of get the point for that. The auto park feature shows the front facing camera, and then to the left shows you the controls for how to park it. I'm not gonna go too in depth on this screen because I've done videos just on that screen before, and there's a lot, that's like a whole video on its own, essentially. On the steering wheel, because of it's an F Sport, we always have heads-up display on F Sports, and it's the intelligent steering wheel controls. So again, I've done a video on that. If you're having problems with it, or if you wanna know what it is, big in-depth video on that. Above it, you will notice I have a driver monitoring system. And that is for a few things. One, it will tell you if you look away from the steering wheel. Like if I'm distracted because I'm trying to read a billboard or something, it'll say beep, 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 keep your eyes on the road, champ. And then I keep my eyes on the road. Or also if the car has traffic jam assist. Because traffic jam assist, they need to monitor your face to make sure you're not sleeping. So just remember that. Up here we have the rear view mirror. It is a digital rear view mirror. So we can have it as a mirror and you can see me in there, or we can just turn it to a camera and now it's facing the back. Cool thing about that is on the intelligent one like this, when you go to set those buttons at the bottom, which are like your garage door openers, it'll actually give you step-by-step instructions, which I forgot it does. We have a sunglass holder up there. It's not Alcantara, but it is a black roof liner, which I do prefer, and that's only in the F Sports. And that's pretty much everything I wanted to go up here. Of course, being fully loaded, there's a couple extra buttons. There's that Mark Levinson sound system. We have those nice ultra suede seats, which I'm always a big fan of. And you know what, with the red, it is really sharp. I like the black on red, but with white on red, it's also really contrasty. And I'm a big fan of that. Let me just show you to the back. Really not a huge difference from the other packages, except for one thing, and that's right away I'm gonna show you. It's that switch. So because of it has the power seats, you can recline and move them by that switch. Obviously, it being an RX, we're not gonna cut a corner for the back. So we still have ultra suede. We still have those really nice red armrests. The suede on the seats is present as well. So we still have, you know, even though it's a bench seat, we still have ultra suede lining them. A couple extra buttons we do have, which is super exciting because Lexus did not have cooled seats in the back for a long time, but now we do. So this car in the back seat has cooled seats. Even an LS a number of years ago didn't have that, or an LX, and now even the RX does. So heated and cooled back here. We don't have, oh, and we have climate control too. I should say that. This lights up and it gives us climate control. We have the USB-C. I'm gonna put this armrest down. Armrest, as well as little glove box thing. So yeah, the back, pretty much the same as all the other RXs, except for has some of those extra buttons, and they don't cheap out on the trim and things like that. Okay, so there you have it, just a little bit of an in-depth look at the RX 350 F Sport. I know in a world of hybrids right now, it's hard to think of the RX 350 having that turbocharged engine being still relevant, but I'm telling you, it still is. This is still a car that's super fun to drive. It's got loads of tech. It's still great on gas because the turbocharged 4-cylinder. And as you saw, you can still get it spec'd out to be an absolute beast on the road. So I don't know for how many years Lexus is gonna have both the hybrid and the turbocharged available. So if you're considering it, I would go with the RX gas or the turbo while we still can have a choice. I do want to tackle the topic of immobilizers. This is a hot topic right now. As a dealer, I can't technically recommend them because there is a chance that you get one that has an invasive installation. We did decide to start experimenting with them. And I kid you not, if I had the camera rolling a few seconds ago, I did just get a phone call as to why we're not quite there yet with these. So if you don't know what an immobilizer is, essentially it's an external aftermarket solution to anti-theft, to avoiding theft systems. And essentially what it does is you have to have an extra key fob that you have to press unlock or do a sequence in the car to allow the car to start. So there's a device inside the car hidden that's interrupting the circuit to be able to start the car. And this is a great theft deterrent because the people stealing these cars will not know where it is or which system it is, or it's aftermarket. So it could be hundreds of different applications instead of just the one that comes with Lexus. And it does a really good job of preventing thefts. The two things it doesn't do a great job of, and the phone call I just got off of, literally from filming to doing this outro, is it's sometimes a little inconsistent. I just got off the phone with a guest. They're at the mall, driving one with an immobilizer, and the car won't start. Well, it's still a device that we have to sort of figure out. So I had to sort of talk her through, let's shut down the device, let's fire it back up, and then eventually the Lexus started again. So great. The other thing is the warranty. So if someone has one of these installed and something voids a warranty, we can't stand behind it. So as a dealer, as a manufacturer, we don't technically recommend these types of things. However, if you're willing to take the risk, they do a good job of preventing thefts. So that's my 2 cents on that. Anyway, back to the rest of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, this idea for tonight's video came right out of the comments section. So please make sure you leave comments below on any other video ideas that you would like to see. Summertime is coming and we're gonna be doing more videos outside. So possibilities are pretty much endless. Maybe even some off-road and racetrack stuff too. We'll see. We'll kind of see what the year holds. So make sure you hit like and subscribe. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines, and I'll see you in the next one.